Archives of Prasar Bharati presents the timeless treasure of golden era.
It has been well said that a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a small step. The same can be said of a question. A simple query can trigger a mighty cascade. Ancient seers in this land asked simple questions that have defied an easy answer to this day. The story of human civilization has followed a trail prepared by unrelenting series of questions. From science and arts to philosophy and politics, much has hinged on a question rightly asked and properly answered. It is not out of place that in a democracy, a system of government by the people, for the people, assigns a crucial role to the questioner in parliamentary procedure. We in India have modeled our political system largely on the Westminster model, adopting largely the tradition and conventions of the British Parliament, the oldest in the world.
Mr. Speaker, I think the short answer is that 6 weeks ago he was promising his backbenchers a handbagging for Europe.
Question hour in the United Kingdom is used by the members of Parliament to keep the executive constantly on its guard and has ensured that the people's representatives remain supreme.
Nearly £19 billion worth of cuts his government have announced so far. Over £13 billion have fallen on women.
For the average citizen, the best example of the power of the Parliament is a question hour. While the debates on the budget and on no confidence motions have in recent times received slightly better media coverage, other interesting features of our parliamentary democracy, like the question hour, the zero hour, and the Rule 193, still remain enigmatic.
महत्व तो पूरा संसद चलता है तो हर एक क्षण का महत्व है, लेकिन अगर सबसे ज्यादा जनता को सीधा मदद पहुंचाने वाला और विरोधी दल को मौका देने वाला अगर कोई आवर है तो उसका नाम है प्रश्नकाल। वहां सरकार कटघरे में खड़ी होती है, मंत्री कटघरे में तरफ से खड़े होते हैं।
माननीय मंत्री से जानना चाहूंगा कि गोरखपुर के लिए स्वीकृत टेक्सटाइल इंटीग्रेटेड पार्क को कब तक गोरखपुर में स्थापित कर दिया जाएगा?
It is during this period that the government can be taken to task and held responsible for acts of commission and omission. This is when even the junior most members of the house can besiege the most powerful members of the cabinet.
I feel that is the 1 hour which is not for the government, it is for the members of parliament, private members, means not the government members alone, but the other opposition members also. It is their privilege because this is 1 hour in which they censure the government. They put questions and supplementaries, and the government has to come prepared to satisfy them. Every government minister try sometime to avoid the direct answer. And it is the responsibility of the presiding officer to see through whether the answer has come correctly to the point or it is beside the point.
से संबंधित जो इन्होंने प्रश्न किया है, 2100 करोड़ रुपया इन 21 पार्क्स में निवेश होगा.
Questions asked in pursuit of public interest are arguably the most effective way to control the government. This system plays an important role in protecting the citizens' democratic right by constantly keeping the government on its toes.
प्रश्न में तो सरकार को जवाब देना है और जवाब देके भागेंगे नहीं। अच्छा, अधिकारियों पर असर ये पड़ता है कि जो प्रश्न काल में प्रश्न आना है वो काम पहले करके आते हैं कि ताकि वहां मंत्री कह सके कि नहीं ये तो हो चुका है, तब हो गया, ऐसा हो गया, तो बहुत सारी जनता का काम भी हो जाता है, आपको बताएं।
There are different types of questions asked during the question hour. The start question need to be answered orally on the floor of the House and may be followed by supplementary questions by the members. An unstarred question receives an answer in a written form, and obviously no subsequent questions can be asked. Besides, there is another category termed short notice questions. These relate to a matter of urgent public concern and can be asked with notice shorter than the prescribed period of 10 days for the other questions.
There may be questions which may require extensive work, collection of material from all over the country, maybe. So the ministry collects that information, and then it is sent back to Lok Sabha. If it is a start question, it goes in the start list. If it is an unstart question, it goes in the unstart list.
Responsible members of opposition realize the significance and potential of the question hour and have criticized the wastage of time by over-enthusiastic interruptions.
Opposition has a role for asking questions, for participating in debates, for criticizing the government on various issues. But it is not a role of the opposition to disrupt Parliament for no reason, because it's a costly process.
Noisy interruptions, increasingly frequent, force unnecessary adjournments that waste public money and precious time.
On many days, they say without question hour, they shout, and then question hour is lost. I think if the government is saved, you don't have to answer your question. That is the one question where you put, I know many questions have raised. Mundra deal came forth and raised by none other than Feroz Gandhi. I would rather forego speaking in the budget rather than losing the question. 20 questions mean every day 220 questions here, 220 other, 440 means wealth of information.
External affairs traditionally attracts a large number of questions dealing with India's national interest and its relations with countries in the neighborhood and the great powers. The border dispute with China has always engendered heated debates in the Indian Parliament. Developments in past few years, despite normalization of diplomatic relations, have once again begun to raise tempers. Chinese incursions and aggressive encirclement of India has disturbed members of Parliament. They have sought to grill the External Affairs Minister repeatedly about such developments. Illegal immigrants from Bangladesh and influx of terrorists from the long and porous borders of Pakistan pose a great threat to our security. Particularly after the attack on Mumbai, apprehensions have increased and a large number of questions have sought to monitor the government's preparedness to cope with such threats.
जैसा कि प्रधानमंत्री जी ने कहा, पड़ोसियों की फितरत हम जानते हैं। हिंद महासागर में वो एक स्थान है, सेल्स आइलैंड, जिस पर नेवी बेस बनाने की बात चाइना ने कही है।
But everything is now going on very well, and even if the honourable member has anything to say, let him just bring to notice. We will definitely do that.
You see, the question hour is unique because the rest of Parliament, you have an order of business, you have a bill, you have a debate on it and so on. But the question hour, first of all, it is open to anybody whose questions come according to the lottery. Then the government has got to be on its feet, not only for the question but for the supplementary. I remember when I had question hour, I had to do a lot of homework in the morning कि भाई ये तो जवाब है लेकिन अब क्या लोग पूछ सकते हैं. So the government, it keeps each minister on his feet. It tests the ability of ministers to be mentally agile, to be politically mature, and it gives the common members who may not otherwise get an opportunity to speak, it gives them a chance to ask questions and to ask supplementaries.
Many of the questions deal with livelihood issues. In recent times, the problems of weavers, handlooms, and other related with the persons dependent on the textile sector have focused on the subject.
मंत्री महोदय जी, आपसे हैंडलूम सेंसस के बारे में हमने पूछा था। मेरा पहला सवाल ये है कि आबिद हुसैन कमेटी की जो रिपोर्ट है और वो जो 9th शेड्यूल में टेक्सटाइल इंडस्ट्री को इंक्लूड करने की बात कर रहा है और वो कह रहा है कि लोकल एरिया डेवलपमेंट के बारे में सोचिए।
सरकार ने विशेष हस्तक्षेप करके कई योजनाएं बनाई हैं, उनको ट्रेनिंग देने की, उनका कर्जा माफी की, उनको कर्जा दिलाने की।
Question hour used to be most effectively used by the Congress against its own ministers in Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru's time. As a minister, especially when I was in petroleum, which used to get dozens of questions every week, there was a tremendous amount of effort that went into the preparation of the answers. But I have been involved as petroleum minister in very lively question and answer sessions in both houses.
Some members skillfully use their questions to pin down the minister and force him to provide a response that is time-bound. One such question related to the use of solar panels to power telecom towers in Rajasthan.
उन्होंने यही लिखा है कि हम ये योजना बना रहे हैं। मैं आपके माध्यम से मंत्री जी से पूछना चाह रहा हूं, तो योजना बना रहे हैं ये तो हमें पता है, ये पूर्ण कब करेंगे, चालू कब करेंगे, ये पूछना चाह रहा हूं।
हमारे मंत्री यहाँ बैठे हुए हैं, उन्होंने 30% सब्सिडी भी दी है इस संदर्भ में, लेकिन अभी तक जो पैसा रिलीज करना चाहिए था जितनी तादाद में वो नहीं हो पाया। तो हम सरकार प्रयास कर रही है कि जल्द से जल्द 2014 तक ये सारा काम पूरा हो जाए।
The question hour plays a crucial role in cementing the bonds between far-flung peripheral states on the periphery with the mainland or the heartland. Members of Parliament from Union territories have been particularly active in drawing the government's attention to the unique problems faced by residents in their constituencies, and often their questions have resulted in speedy redress of a grievance.
चार में बनाया जारवा रिजर्व, अक्टूबर 30, 2007 में बनाया। जो सफेद दाग आप देखते हैं समुद्र में 5 किलोमीटर जारवा रिजर्व। अंडमान का स्टेक होल्डर कौन है? ग्राम सभा, लोकशाही। इसलिए ग्राम सभा में भारत सरकार को जाए, उपराज्यपाल जाए और कानून को परिवर्तन करते हुए अंडमान को बचाए।
I would urge the government to intervene in the matter and to ensure that regular teachers are appointed at the government high school, and also to fix responsibility for against the officer who has ordered firing on unarmed students without application of mine.
It is very heartening that these members have not confined themselves to local and parochial subjects. Quite often, they have taken the lead in articulating public concerns on national as well as international developments.
Question hour is intended to involve sharp questions, eliciting response which by its eliciting itself shows misgovernance and corrective action. So there's an art in how to ask the question. But the most important art is not to how to ask the question, but the supplementary which are allowed. There are two supplementaries allowed. In that process, it's a cross-examination of the minister. And if it's cleverly done, you can pinpoint him and you can ensure that not only the truth comes out, but he is embarrassed, and the object is to embarrass constructively.
हम लोग संसद में संसदीय भाषा का प्रयोग करते हैं.
The question hour is generally considered to be the liveliest period in the daily routine of the House.
Press Council of India, which is created from an act of Parliament.
It is not always that the exchanges in the question hour are adversarial or dilatory. Ensuring that hundreds of millions Indians can enjoy 2 square meals has been a priority of the government. Achieving self-sufficiency in production of food grains was accorded highest priority after independence. Green Revolution succeeded in making the nation independent in this regard. There is no scope for complacency for a nation of India's size. Food continues to be a major concern, and it is not surprising that many questions asked in the parliament address this.
मैं जानना चाहता हूँ कि यह भारती फसल प्रसंस्करण प्रौद्योगिकी संस्था द्वारा देश के किसानों और विद्यार्थियों के लिए कितने प्रकार के ट्रेनिंग प्रोग्राम कंडक्ट करती है?
Human resource capacity building by offering bachelor's, master's and doctor's degree, a training institution है. This is a mandate which has been given, and on this mandate they are working.
Shelter is a basic human need. It is a matter of some regret that more than 6 decades after independence, not all Indians have a roof on their head. Demographic changes and untamed urbanization has aggravated the problem. The situation has become critical in the cities. Affordable housing has become a dream for the common man. The government has had to work hard to satisfy the members who are persistent in asking questions related to government agencies responsible for housing. The minister in charge of these subjects are regularly put in the dock.
आपके माध्यम से मंत्री जी से पूछना चाहता हूं कि क्या किसानों की जो जमीन कौड़ी के भाव आपने ली उसको ऑक्शन बंद करके बड़े लोगों को देने 300 करोड़ का एक छोटा प्लॉट बिक रहा है, वो आम आदमी के लिए, झुग्गी झोपड़ी में रहने वाले लोगों के लिए और दिल्ली के आम आदमी को मकान मिल जाए, इसके लिए सरकार की तरफ से कोई प्रयास करेंगे?
आज के दिन डीडीए कोई नई लैंड एक्विजिशन नहीं कर रही है। जहाँ तक प्रश्न है कि डीडीए की कौन सी नई योजना है, जैसे मैंने पहले उत्तर में कहा था कि 1 लाख मकान का लक्ष्य हमने बनाया है। 30,000 की शुरुआत हुई है, 30,000 की होने वाली है।
Another very encouraging development is the younger members of the parliament cutting across various political parties are active during the question hour and hone their parliamentary skills during the thrust and parry here.
देश की जनता की कमाई को 1800 करोड़ से बढ़ाकर आज आप 20,000 करोड़ रुपए पर पहुंचा देते।
आज की तारीख में आपके पास में कितना डब्बा है?
When the members are not satisfied with an answer, they resort to supplementaries.
और एक डब्बा पर औसत साल में कितना यात्री आता है?
At times, even responses to these questions fail to provide satisfaction. Then, the members demand a discussion under Rule 193.
Situation which the honourable member himself is very well aware of.
The rule supplements and complements the question hour. Though the ministers are not duty-bound to answer such questions either orally or in written forms, but the process keeps a subject of urgent public interest in sharp focus.
I want to tell them they should go to the details.
Frequently, the discussion under Rule 193 allows the ministers to add details and clarify the position of the government better than is possible under very tight limit available in the question hour. Suggestions regarding how best to solve the problem.
Permission granted by central government is different.
The founding fathers of our nation were acutely aware of the plight of the downtrodden, deprived, and the socially discriminated segments of the population. The scheduled castes and scheduled tribes belong to this category, and the Constitution has provided special provisions to empower them. Experience since independence has shown that mere entitlement is not enough. Strident laws are necessary to ensure that they can claim their due and do not suffer social humiliation due to age-old prejudices. members seldom miss an opportunity to highlight atrocities against them and keep the government on its toes.
खाली कानून बनाना ये काम नहीं, उस कानून के तहत सजा होना, यहां तक हमारा फर्क मिलता है। अब उनके लिए अगर किसी केसेस में शेड्यूल कास्ट और शेड्यूल ट्राइब को डाउट आ गया कि मेरी केस ठीक नहीं करता है सरकारी वकील, तो उसको प्राइवेट वकील नियुक्त करने का और उसकी फीस देने का काम सरकार ने करना चाहिए।
Some questions asked in the House play a significant role in monitoring the implementation of ambitious schemes and developmental projects announced by the government. Not all the ministers, but the entire executive has to respond adequately to these inquisitive watchdogs.
हमारी जानकारी के अनुसार जब से PMGSY की योजना भारत निर्माण के तहत आई है, तब से भारत सरकार ने ये निर्णय ले लिया है कि जब तक पूरे देश में 1000 की आबादी वाले गांव नहीं जुड़ जाएंगे, तब तक हम आगे की आबादी जोड़ने के लिए पैसा नहीं देंगे। ये उन राज्यों के साथ बहुत बड़ा अन्याय है जहां छोटी आबादी वाले गांव हैं।
मैं अभी ये सूचना देना चाहता हूं कि पिछले 2 ही दिन पहले हमने एक नया निर्णय लिया है कि अभी 800 से लेकर 999 तक जो हैबिटेशंस हैं उनको भी अभी खोला जाएगा।
I think question hour and 0 hour are very important. 0 hour for the suddenly certain problems arise about which they can they can raise, or even some other issues of lasting value or of importance which has been ignored so far by the government or the particular ministry or something are raised.
It is the press that gave the name 0R sometime back in the 1960s, when a practice of raising matters of urgent public importance without any prior notice developed. The period of time immediately after the question hour is called as the 0 hour in both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. It is a 0 hour in more than one sense. It is a non-existent hour. It starts at 12 noon, which is the 0 hour of the day. It also came to be called as a 0 hour because mostly it continued till 1 in the afternoon, after which the house rose for lunch.
0 hour was, if I put it in blunt terms, a shore or wool hour. In other words, if somebody had to raise something which didn't come, they raised it in any case, तो ये बना कि अच्छा भैया तुमने raise ही करना है तो इसमें There are certain special mentions in 0 hour, those are understandable, but it's also more or less of an open house. It's useful in a way to let off steam and for people to make special mentions, but it is never part of anywhere in the world. It is an Indian thing.
0 hour is an interesting concept and an Indian innovation.
कि जो हम यहाँ बोलते हैं क्या उसको कोई नोटिस करता है?
No one knows what matter might crop up during this period or what kind of attack might be launched against the government. In the rules, there is no mention of the 0 hour. It is also not necessary that there would be a 0 hour every day during the session. Unlike special mentions, there is no follow-up action on matters raised as the 0 hour submissions.
0 hour actually originated when there were members who wanted urgently to raise certain things. Something happened and they are very agitated. So the chair permitted. There is no proper rule for it. But it has become a tradition because the house doesn't run on the rule book only. It also runs on traditions, on conventions. And of course the chair's discretion is the most important.
As soon as the question hour is over, several members are on their feet to raise matters which they feel cannot brook any delay, even if there is no rule permitting them. The basic premise to this is the fact that in a democracy, when rules come in the way of members raising issues of national importance or serious grievances of the people on the floor of the House, then the rules are irrelevant and should yield to basic concerns and rights of the people's representatives. After all, the Parliament is a political institution consisting of representatives of the people, and any attempt to run the House strictly by the rules book is likely to be futile. The question hour and the 0 hour are truly empowering procedures. Even the junior most and inexperienced members of the Parliament can use them with great effect. The question hour attracts great media attention, and no government can remain indifferent to the exchanges that take place during these periods. The electors too feel that they are holding the reins of the government in their hands through the agency of their elected representatives. The question hour and the 0 hour are the most direct and dramatic manifestation of democracy. A single question in the Parliament has often changed the course of history.